reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the roll call will show that all council members are present. We'll move on to Carroll County Growth Partnership and Carroll Chamber of Commerce update. And Kimberly?
Good evening, Mayor Fleschner and council members. Thank you for letting me be here this evening and give you an update on Carroll County Growth Partnership and the Carroll Chamber of Commerce. So this update is going to go from the beginning of the year and nothing in any particular order, but do want to share with you quite a few things that have been going on and looking forward as well. From the Carroll County Growth Partnership side, first of all, we participated or assisted the city with the ISU Housing and Readiness application, and that application was awarded to the city, as you know, and there were some meetings that took place in Carroll County Growth Partnership. However, we can assist the city with the housing readiness and the housing piece in general. We're always on board with doing that, of course, as that affects all of us here in Carroll, our workforce, our employers, and things like that. So those meetings, when they're scheduled, I'm always a part of that and happy to do so. Grants, I'd like to point out that there is a grant that I helped facilitate and complete the information for. That is for a business in Carroll. At this point in time, as you know how these things go, you can't always talk about the business or those types of things, but we're looking, if that grant comes to fruition and is awarded, it'll be upwards to $100,000 for the business, and so we're looking forward to hearing that confirmation.
Is that a new or existing business?
This is a little of both, a combination of both. So. Carroll County Growth Partnership, as you know, has a grant program of their own. This is our second year of this grant program. It involves two different types of grants. One is called the Startup Accelerator Grant. That's two grants awarded, one in the city of Carroll and one in the county. There's also another part of this grant program called the Facade grant program, and that is 10 $1,000 grants to go towards facade improvements. So it could be new signage, it could be a new door system, it could be new windows. It can go towards anything that any kind of work that needs to be done on the facade of the business. Those applications were due May 30th, so we are going through those applications, and our grant committee will be meeting this Friday to have those discussions about who those will be awarded to.
How many grants applications do you typically get on those?
You know, honestly, I need to go through them. At this point, I'm not quite sure how many we have. I don't think we have quite as many as we did last year. Some of that is just, it's a new program and getting the word out still, but I can't even answer that right now, Kyle.
And this was that grant that we approved a couple of weeks ago?
No.
It's a different
No.
one.
CCGP has their own, which is the micro facade grants, which
Yeah.
are they're given 5 in Carroll and then 5 given outside of Carroll in Carroll County. And then we will start our new program here. We've got that on the agenda tonight also.
Okay, all right, this one, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I just heard the deadline, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, good question,
So,
though.
thank
Good
you.
question. Another program that Carroll County Growth Partnership has is called a BRE program. It's a Business Retention and Expansion Program. This is a statewide program that all economic development organizations do, and it is something that Mid-American Energy has always been a big part of, along with IEDA. And CCGP is really giving a strong reboot or kickstart to this program, as there was a little die out at the state level, if you will, of this program. And so we're rebooting it and getting it going. It's a great program, and really what happened at the state level was fatigue, to be real honest with you, because the questionnaires prior to this were so lengthy to all of our business owners. that the economic developers like myself and board members who participated had a hard time getting in the door and getting the questions answered. So they kind of needed to pause, take a break, reevaluate things. They've done that, and now we're restarting that program. We were given the opportunity to get a software platform, which the CCGP board did vote to go ahead and do. It's a very inexpensive platform, but it's pretty robust for no more money than what it's costing us. And the nice thing about this platform is that going forward, there's going to be an opportunity for myself and whoever's helping me in our office to enter a lot of data that will then kick out reports anytime we need them, monthly, quarterly, or whatever. So for instance, if I'm emailing any one of our businesses, I can BCC that email directly into that database, and it'll track all of our emails. It'll have all of that information about any kind of business conversation that we're having about any kind of expansion or any kind of needs that they have. Maybe they've reached out to me about a building that's in town that they're interested in, anything like that. So the nice thing is that's all captured right away in our database, along with a lot of other information. I do want to point out to you that Mid-America and the state is focused. They give us a list of businesses every year to contact. They're focused on larger employers. Our board thinks it's really important. I think it's really important. Our board agrees that we reach out to small businesses and we have that concerted effort toward our small businesses as well. We think that the same information, the same data needs to be captured. So that we'll have a separate survey for our small businesses. That survey will be easy to do, and we don't want it to be a heavy lift for our businesses, but we do need to know things that are very pertinent to them and important to us as well. So I'm just going to read you some of the questions that are on the survey that's given to us from Mid-American. So that, again, this is more targeted toward our larger employers, but a lot of good questions. They ask what industry sector they're in. They ask if their company is planning to expand within the next 3 years. Does your company plan to contract within the next 3 years? Is there any reasons that the community may not be considered for a future expansion? So really important information. If we get a key answer to that, that's our trigger to definitely have a conversation with Aaron and you council members about what we need to do. Has the company's ownership or top management changed in the past year, or do you anticipate that change? What percentage of sales come from international sales? Is the company experiencing any challenges with logistics or regulatory in international markets? Is your company experiencing any regulatory barriers that are inhibiting your growth or causing the community to not be considered for future expansion? Is your company experiencing any issues with infrastructure that is positive or negative to your operations? And does your company have substantial sustainability goals, And looking at long-term viability of both your company and this community, which of the following efforts do you believe should be prioritized? And it lists quite a few things there for them to prioritize. And are there any financing needs or technical supported that are needed? And it lists some options for the company to choose. So that just gives you a really quick overview of the BRE program and the questions that are targeted towards larger industry. But again, we will be having a separate survey that targets our small businesses so we can learn about some of those key pieces from our small businesses as well. Any questions on the BRE program?
Who's making up that survey? Just you guys?
No, this one is given to
Oh, I
us.
meant just for the smaller businesses.
We have one that was given to us from UNI,
Okay.
Advanced Iowa Program. There's also a couple of other surveys that I've sourced from other EDOs that have been doing a small business survey, just to kind of take the best questions from all of them and make up our own.
Okay.
The main thing is that we have a good survey that has good information, and we're consistent with that year after year going into our database.
Tell me again what BRE stands for.
Business retention and expansion.
Expansion, okay. And then my one question would be, what do they consider a large business versus a small business?
Right. So Cormark, Pella, Toynes, so those are going to be,
Employment, but
yeah. And so SBA is going to say a business that's 500 and over and above. 500 employees and above. In rural Iowa, that's tough. We have a few, but yeah. So St. Anthony's, New Hope, so you're bigger businesses and organizations. A project, as you well know, that has taken a great deal of my time and efforts and is launched and off the ground is Hub 712, a couple of buildings down. And a lot of my time was spent on building renovations, and even though Adam Schweers is very helpful with managing that project as far as renovations are concerned, it took a lot of my time as well. And I also spent a lot of my time on collaboration with resource partners. So resource partners from around the state would be SBDC, Advance Iowa, Papa John out of Mason City, New Boco out of Cedar Rapids, Rural Ideas Network out of Dubuque. So there's the purpose of this, and I know we've said it a lot and you've heard it a lot, but it's to bring business resources and entrepreneurial resources that already exist across the state to West Central Iowa, where we've identified a definite gap in these resources. So we've accomplished that. We've accomplished building along with SBDC and ISU, an ag innovation program that is being launched out of Hub 712, and that's a big deal in West Central Iowa, where we have so much ag innovation taking place anyway. And if we can shorten the runway for farmers or whomever has an idea and get them to market quicker, that's a great thing. That's a win-win for all of us. So in this comes a lot of free consulting, and also let's just say that there's a farmer that has a prototype and they need to do a short run manufacturing on the prototype to see if it's feasible. So a feasibility study on that. So they already know where they can go to get a short run done and that feasibility study done, the engineering available at ISU, things like that. So that's a win-win for us, and I think good things will come of that. I did talk to Ray the other day, Ray Hansen, who's in charge of our program, and he's full through the month of June. So filling his calendar hasn't been a problem, so we were glad to hear that.
Is there a number of businesses that it's created since, I know it's relatively new, is there like a number of businesses that it has started or created or?
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, we are working with 15 different.
Very new. I just didn't know if there was a crown like success from it right now. So
Not yet, no.
Didn't expect it, just
Yep,
wanted.
yep, thank you, yeah, just opened our doors, so we're getting there, we're getting there. As you know, we were awarded a fellow from the International Economic Development Council, so we've been going through training, she and I both. I'm required to go through host training as the host. She's been required to go through the fellowship training. So a really good program. She did spend a few days out in Washington, D.C., visiting with there's about 7 or 8 different federal resource partners that are involved in this program, which gives us great access to different resources, whether they be resources for business owners, resources for our communities. A lot of these programs that are involved in this fellowship are programs that are focused on community betterment, community development in a lot of different ways. So having the same access to all those resources is, really good for us. And for a community our size to be involved in something like this is very nice. So again, a few days in Washington, D.C., she came back with a lot of contacts, good information, and in fact, we have a meeting set up tomorrow morning with the economic development at the federal level to discuss some things that she heard out in D.C. that we need to talk about. So, and you know that we had the ribbon cutting ceremony not too long ago at Hub 712 with Lieutenant Governor Gregg, Debbie Durham, ISU Vice President of Economic Development and Industry Relations, David Spalding was there. And then Jason Henderson, ISU Vice President of Extension, was there. I will also add that Jason Henderson was very instrumental in this ag innovation program as well as the SBDC. So he's been very intrigued with our project here and what they can do to be part of it. Also, SBDC State Director Lisa Shimkat was in attendance, as well as many others. And if you were able to be there, it was a great ribbon cutting ceremony with a lot of people in attendance. So thank you for those of you who could attend. And then last week, we did have our public open house. Had a very nice turnout for that. And then we are hosting, we've hosted a lunch and learn. We're hosting a workshop coming up, artificial intelligence tools for marketing, a very popular topic, and that's filling up quickly. So, and then also last week we had Senator Ernst here. She wanted to visit Hub Someone too, and she sat down and talked to us about our initiative and what's happening there. Business assistance. So in general, the phone calls and the people that have reached out to me for businesses in 2024, I track those all the time in an Excel worksheet that I have that will eventually transition to this new software platform that we have. But I have talked or met with 47 potential either business owners or prospects since the beginning of the year. There's a lot of people that kick tires, right? So not everyone that reaches out to me is actually going to start a business, or not everyone who reaches out to Hub Someone too is actually going to start a business, but they're thinking about it. And it could be that 2 years down the road, all the things are in place for them to do that. But to have those initial conversations is important. There are a fair number of businesses that are reaching out to me about exiting their business. That's a concern and something that we're trying to provide as much information and assistance as we can, for sure.
Is there a common trend on why they're exiting their business, just age or?
There's a lot of people aging out.
Okay.
Yeah.
These 47, most of them local, or are they from out, percentage of them from not local? What is
A
it?
great deal of them are local Carroll people. There are some sprinkled around the county as well.
Okay.
I did have a conversation with someone outside of the county today who is interested in expanding his business to Carroll. So there's a few calls like that as well. And that
Really real quick on business owners that are looking to exit, what is one of the biggest hurdles that you find with potential buyers or prospects that would be interested in that?
I can tell you hands down, it's capital and funding. We are really running into people who have great entrepreneurial minds, business minds, but aren't born into generational wealth and don't have that financial foundation. I would say Kim and I are a good example. We're second generation business owners. We were born into it. He was born into it. There's a lot of us in Carroll County like that. There's a lot of great businesses that are multi-generational. But for your younger entrepreneurs or maybe already business owners who would like to start or expand their business, the biggest barrier we're seeing is capital. So, and yeah, capital.
So one of the things that when I originally ran for city council, one of the things that I really stressed about or talked about was some sort of revolving loan fund for things such like this.
Right.
I think us as a community, if we want people to be here and the next generation to be here, we have to maybe take a risk on them a little bit. Do you think that the growth partnership will have anything like that in place in the future? Is it something that there'd ever be a push for?
I mean, you know how I feel about this because we've had conversations. I agree completely. There are, Region 12 has a great revolving loan fund program. And Senator Ernst and I talked about this as well. At the federal level on these revolving loan funds, there's a huge amount of paperwork that you have to go through for any business owner that's been through it. It's a fairly lengthy application. It's not anything that you can't do, but it's lengthy. And if the interest rates aren't low enough, it's a barrier. And I am more than happy to assist folks with those applications. We don't want that to be a barrier. Interest rates are really hurting people right now as far as, being able to get a business loan or wanting to get a business loan.
Do most of those revolving loan funds through, say, Region 12 of the government, they're prime plus 1% or 2% or?
Yeah, and it depends how the board sets it, but they're always under a bank. They're always, it's a lesser interest rate than the bank, so it's still good. And we always encourage, we don't want to knock the bank out of a deal. But sometimes banks will say, they'll refer a client on to Region 12. And it's also a great opportunity for a business to partner with their bank and Region 12 to get a deal done. So if anytime you can layer that financing and get something done, then it's a great thing. But 2020 really spoiled everyone for interest rates, and business owners still, they saw what those lower interest rates do as far as their payment being much lower and getting that capital in their hands, and now it's a much different story. So to your question, Kyle, about CCGP, have a revolving loan fund. If we could get a pot of money to do that, I think it's something very much needed. Manning has a revolving loan fund, the city of Manning, but they also have the utilities that helps fund that. So it's a different thing. But they have kept their interest rate at 4% always, no matter what interest rates do. It's always at 4%. They'll go the first year, no payments, no interest. Give people an opportunity to get up and going. They've had great luck with it. So.
They've done that for many, many years.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. Right. Another piece that I was busy doing is a USDA business development grant application that was completed. We're waiting. We're supposed to hear sometime this month if we're going to get awarded. We asked for $90,000. They typically award you somewhere beneath what you ask for. You can't ask for any more than 100. So we're hoping that we'll get 50. But anyway, that business development grant will go towards technical services for small business owners who need some sort of assistance. So let's say we have a retiring business owner who would like some assistance with getting some of their books brought together, or maybe they need their QuickBooks brought up to date because they haven't been on top of that, whatever. We can help get some of those things done so that a prospective buyer can have that information, and so can their bank. Another thing that we're in the midst of planning right now is Access Washington. So this is a trip that we take every year through the Development Corporation. We've got a group of 8 to 10 that are going, and that'll be a September trip again this year. A grant that we've been awarded is a $5,000 grant from UNI Advance Iowa to put together an exit planning continuity packet for business owners. So when you think of some of the age of our business owners, not everybody wants to go online and search for information. And part of what the whole purpose of Hub 712 is people shouldn't need to do that. They shouldn't have to do that. So a continuity packet that has information as far as, how can you maximize the value of your business going into the last years of your business? How can I get a valuation of my business that isn't a formal valuation like the SBA would require, but it would still get me on the right page of what's my business really worth, and how can I have this conversation with a prospective buyer or a lender? So that is a packet that we're currently working on. On June 18th, we have a child care presentation that will be the Growth Partnership is facilitating and hosting at Western Iowa Networks. That will be at noon. You're all invited to be there. We feel like this is a very important topic. There's new data out that we want to share with our employers and with the general public, but folks that serve on all the daycares in our county, those board members, so that they know exactly what their employers are faced with, the workforce is faced with, and why we have people dropping out of the workforce and not re-entering the workforce. I attend a lot of regional and statewide meetings. Western Iowa Advantage is our own regional meeting right here that Region 12 helps facilitate. I serve on the Empower Rural Iowa Executive Board with the Lieutenant Governor, and that is something that is very much focused on business exit strategy. How can we help our businesses? Also focused on second level, next level businesses. How can we get the businesses out of the startup phase and into their next growth phase? That's something else that we're really focusing on right now, along with other things as well. The Iowa Rural Development Council, International Economic Development Council. There's a lot of other things that I attend to continue my own education in economic development and business development. And that include, going around the state and also get you in front of those partnerships that are so important to have. Are there any questions about CCGP? I'm going to go to the chamber real quickly. I don't want to take a lot of your time, so I'm going to go through this even faster than I planned. So in January, our chamber board started off with a board retreat. In February, we celebrated with our chamber banquet. Many of you were in attendance. We had approximately 300 people there, giving out 2 business awards and 4 community awards to very deserving businesses and citizens in Carroll. As you well know, the downtown assessment took place in November, and we've had meetings since then, and traveled to Knoxville to visit with their folks about how they're implementing things and the successes that they're having there. And I'm very much on board with assisting the city of Carroll with whatever you need me to do to help implement anything that you have coming up with the downtown assessment. Chamber coffees and night shifts, those are opportunities for our businesses to get together, to network, and to get to know each other as far as what those businesses. We've had 13 chamber coffees so far this year and 3 night shifts. Our Carroll Classic basketball tournament, Court Classic, was in February. We had 69 teams from across the state, plus locals attending as well. And as you know, the families come with grandma and grandpa, and it's a great way to get exposure to our community. We had 16 t-shirt sponsors, and we ordered over 800 t-shirts. Championship t-shirts, we had 100 of those. And we had a basketball sponsor this year, and so all of our old basketballs were donated to the rec center. And we ordered 120 medals from Trophies Plus, so just kind of some fun numbers around that. We use 8 gyms, including the Carroll Rec Center. So if it weren't for all of our gyms and our good facilities in Carroll, we would not be able to have this tournament, certainly. We also run a large digital campaign around that with digital commercials and a Facebook campaign to promote the Court Classic and highlighting our amenities in Carroll, but also our restaurants as well. We just had Color Run on Saturday. We had 140 participants, 9 color zones, and 16 event sponsors who are our local businesses. If you haven't seen the photos on Facebook, they're pretty colorful and fun. So it's really neat to see mom and dad and grandpa and grandma with their kids and all types of people coming out for that. As you know, we've hosted 4 legislative forums through the chamber, and many of you were there for those. Tourism is something that the city is very involved in and that we execute. Ashley Schabel is in charge of that, as you well know. She has put together a digital campaign with ICANN TV on Western Iowa networks, cable channels including Fox, HGTV, Hallmark, ESPN2 that promoted our Court Classic basketball tournament. She's also done print ads in the Travel Iowa guides. You have some of those things in front of you. She attends regular meetings on tourism to make sure that she knows what's going on and that taking advantage of any tourism pieces we can. Something else that you have in front of you is the Carroll magazine. This is an every other year project. We're a little behind because of 2020, but Roseanne is working on right now in conjunction with, this is a joint project between the Chamber and the Carroll Times-Herald. The 2024 edition of the magazine will be out late summer. This is Roseanne's project. She goes through every single photo, every article, all the data to update all the data. And this is the 10th edition of the Carroll magazine. The Carroll magazine is free and can be obtained at the Chamber office. Copies are distributed in all hotel rooms throughout the city, as well as numerous doctor's offices, businesses, city and council offices, and it serves as a promotional tool for individuals and businesses seeking information about Carroll. Another thing that we just completed is our leadership program. This is our 24th year of our leadership program, the Carroll County Leadership Institute, and we've graduated 502 graduates. This program has 8 sessions starting in September. We have been able to track 65-plus graduates in this program that have gotten involved in boards, organizations, and public offices. And Scott Johnson, I'd like to point out, who is here this evening, was in the first leadership class, I believe. That's true, Scott? Something else that Roseanne's working on right now would be our retail promotions. July is busy, and certainly retail is involved in that with Ridiculous Days coming up. So that meeting, actually, there's another one that takes place tomorrow morning. We will be having our 67th annual Ridiculous Days in July. Live and Local kicked off this past Thursday, and with our new location in Depot Park, and went very well. We have 4 more concerts this summer. The concerts are sponsored by chamber member businesses. We'd never have a problem getting sponsors. This is really something that's popular and very well supported. And the city helps us with power barricades, garbage and recycling bins, so we thank the city certainly for that. And I think that pretty well sums up what I wanted to give you. I know I've taken a lot of time. I have more information I can share with you, but I don't want to take more of your time. Do you have any questions for me? We appreciate your support. If you ever have anything that you want to reach out to me about, please, I'm very accessible. Please shoot me an email or give me a phone call or whatever. I know, Jason, you've stopped in several times and timing has just been off, but yeah, set up at a time and we can chat about anything that's going on. CCGP, Hub 712, or the Chamber. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Kimberly. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes of the May 28th, 2024 meeting, approval of bills and claims, licenses and permits, including a renewal of Class C retail alcohol license for Brothers on Main, renewal of Class B retail alcohol license, Dries Oil Company, a new 5-day special Class C retail alcohol license for a car show event at Choice Auto on August 29th, 24, with the Lucky Wife wine slushies and assorted cigarette permits, and 1 infill housing incentive application. Is there any discussion? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, by Jason and Tom seconded. And
Sorry.
What was that?
Said sorry about that. I had
Oh,
a frog in my throat or
I
something.
got it. All right, roll call vote, please.
Dirks,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Bordenaro.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Are there any oral requests from the audience this evening? This would be anybody in the public that wants to speak on anything not on the agenda this evening.
Yes,
Come on forward. Okay. State your name. You'll have 5 minutes.
5 minutes for an attorney?
I was tempted to say it myself. My thing was going to say, are you going to be in competition with anybody up here?
I,
Might know really
4.5.
well.
4.5.
You've already lost 30 seconds.
Taken.
Yeah, go ahead. You got 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Tough crowd.
my name is Barry T. Bruner. I'm a resident of Carroll. And contrary to the Carroll County Supervisor that will remain nameless that's in the room, I am not the father of the city attorney, David Bruner. There's a lot of mean-spirited people around here, and I'll get to him in a few minutes. Anyway, very quickly, I dropped off the most wonderful Hawkeye booklet to the city manager this morning, and I started thinking about the fact that I needed to come to this meeting tonight. I want to personally thank Carolyn, Kyle, Dirksey, Aaron, you had some part of it too, Mayor, JJ. Jason, I'll work on you. Serious, no.
Good luck.
And Smiley, Bordenero, and the city staff for the success of that vote for Merchants Park last week. Speaking of not being Dave's dad, our dad made it real clear to his family that if you come to a town to make a living, it's not just a nice thing to get involved, it's a responsibility. And you people have stepped into those roles. Now, even the fire chief has we have had no fires down at Merchants Park in 75 years. And Chad keeps him in line when he's down there. And then Brad's group, just the other night, a couple of your officers were there, and those kids are just crazy at those games, and they're down there visiting with those kids. And I think it's really cool, and giving out cards and stuff. Of course, they look like they're almost kids themselves. They're 16 years old, the officers down there. But anyway, I wanted to thank you. And even Wendy, she has Merchants Park information at the library. I mean, I'm sure you'll do maybe a program on it or something. Yes.
did today.
You did today? On Merchants Park?
The merchants were there today.
Oh, cool. The team, that is just so cool. But you guys have been tremendous, and I have gotten involved in this project many years ago. Went to a game with Dad that I kind of remember. I was 49. I wasn't born till 51. But I remember being in that stadium with.
The second we had that up.
Hey, I want to take a second. I want to thank you, and I reached out to Chris Whitaker too. I want to
Did ya?
thank you and congratulate you and your team
It is.
on getting that awarded. We live in a community, and everyone's going to have different opinions and
Yeah,
thoughts.
no,
That's what makes a
exactly.
community exactly great in how it is. I was the first one that congratulated him on doing it and stuff. I think it's a little over budget, but that's my own opinion. The council spoke,
No,
and I'll
and
agree
that-
with the council.
But
So,
involvement in the
yes.
community, Jason, that's what I wanted to thank all of you for.
So Western Iowa
And the great
Tourism-
project.
Western Iowa Tourism had an ad out, and it was Merchants Park. You're talking Western Iowa, and it was a photo of Merchants Park.
And where was that?
I don't remember.
On TV?
No.
On the
I saw it
internet?
on a flyer somewhere.
On a flyer, all right.
Was it in the Carroll book? Was it?
No. It was,
But anyway, it has been a fascinating project for me. I've been involved in raising money, all of us have, here, various projects. But I would see people at the post office in the morning, and they'd ask how the project was going. And they'd say, we'll drop off a check. And by 10 o'clock that next morning, I'm thinking of one guy in particular, there was a $5,000 check on my desk. People loved this community, and it's a great, great economic development tool for us. So again, thank you very much. One other thing, as when I came and saw Aaron and dropped off that wonderful book, was your picture in that book?
I haven't had a chance to look at
Oh,
it.
okay, all right. It was 33 years ago that he was, played, 33? That you played for the Hawkeyes?
Close. I
Close.
think 30 years next year will
30
be
years.
my
next year.
graduation.
Okay, well, anyway, I thought this was the history of Iowa football, so I figured he might be in it, at his age. But, all right, I lost track of things, but I saw Scott Johnson here this morning, and we visited, and I ran for county supervisor and just got my tail kicked. I don't know if I got a vote except for Mary and mine. But anyway, my thought, and I talked with Scott this morning, having him here, and Scott's here as much as you guys are, I think it would be a huge idea for our community and all of the cities of Carroll County. If you would attend and be a part of the County Board of Supervisors. And Scott has some great ideas of how we can interact and communicate. And the county contributed to this project, Merchants Park, in a huge way, as did our schools and stuff. So my thought is, if you ever have a shot at one of your planning meetings, see if that unnamed county supervisor could attend and give you his ideas. Scott, I think it's great having you here as part of our city, and we need to expand that idea. So, anyway, thanks for the Board of Supervisors, or everything, but thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to ordinances. The first and only ordinance we have this evening is the Carroll City Ordinance, Chapter 69.03 and 69.08 Amendment. And Brad?
Thank you, Mayor. Chapter 69 of the City of Carroll Code of Ordinances deals with parking, and this is a request from the Kemper Catholic Schools to make some parking changes as they're prepping for next school year. Some of the changes are going to be, based off this ordinance, would be to flip the parallel and angle parking along Bluff Street between Kemper and Holy Spirit schools. There will also be a change to some loading zones area that will be used for the drop-off pickup location for the Kemper Cares along Clark Street, and then moving the persons with disabilities locations on Clark Street, which that'll be through a motion, which my suggestion will be we do that once this ordinance is passed, possibly at the next council meeting. So the main thing that we're looking at now is the ordinance change, and those are going to be for, like I said, the flipping of the parking, adding the loading zone, and there's some other minor changes in there, just cleaning up some language, and also making some corrections to some of the measurements that were already in place with our parking locations. So my suggestion would be to have the first reading of this ordinance anyway. We'll bring it back to next council meeting. And if you guys choose to pass at that time, then I'll also recommend that we make a motion to adjust the parking for the parking with disabilities on Clark Street.
Clarify to me, when you say flip, you're saying the angle parking on the south.
We'll go to the north.
Side will move to the north. And what do they gain by this? You know?
We're not really sure, but that was their request. So their desire to make that change. They're going to lose a few parking spaces on the south side due to some restrictions with the sidewalk and the exits for Holy Spirit School. And we did bring that up to their staff. They were aware of it and they were fine with that. So I think it has to do with the flow of traffic.
What's the cost? What's the cost of us to the city? Is there a cost to the
There'll
city?
be a cost. Historically, we have not billed anything back to the schools to make these changes. So there will be a cost. Most of it will be labor, and there'll be some painting costs too.
Do you know estimate of how? I mean, if we're moving them, we don't know why they're moving them. It's not going to do anything.
Biggest thing that they told us was that the flow of traffic and parking. Most of their traffic that comes to the locations comes off of Clark Street, and then the angle parking would be for that exit from Clark Street onto Bluff. Currently, the parking is on the north side of that road, and so if you come off of Clark Street, you make a U-turn middle of the block to make that parking location. But estimated cost, Randy, would you have any idea? It's a tough sell. We have to figure out labor time that'll take, because there'll be some, yeah, maybe. There'll be some sandblasting and then repainting.
Nothing $7, as we learned last week.
I think there's a couple signs we'll also have to add.
Could
but
you
most
get
of the
a
signage will
rough
stay the same.
estimate of how much it would, just before the next one? We can move forward with it, but.
It's probably gonna be pretty rough. We just don't know labor, what the time will be able for sandblasting, but there's probably something we can put together.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, I look for a motion then to pass the first reading to approve this ordinance on, City of Carroll ordinance in this, on the persons with disability parking. No, that's.
Nope, that'll be through a motion at the next one. This will just be for chapter 6903 and 6908.
Reading as presented.
Second.
JJ and Jason. Second.
Dirks,
Yes.
Roll call vote. That's okay. I have to say that first. So I learned that sometimes I forget to say it. This time I actually
all
read.
right. Dirks,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bordenaro,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Right,
Thank you.
Brad. All right, we have some resolutions this evening. The first is CBD street resurfacing 2024. And Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. On June 4th, the bids for the CBD street resurfacing were received, opened, and tabulated. 2 bids were received, Henningsen Construction Company and 10 Point Construction Company. For your information, it was discovered late Thursday afternoon that the 10 Point bid had an error in it by 2 cents. So all references to the 10 Point bid will now be $1,794,719.95. They're still low bid, and the summary of their unit prices is included with your memorandum. The total project cost based on that bid now is just over $2,055,000. And a budget, we would recommend at this point to continue the original budgeting from the Water Utility Fund to, and that has been transferred, and then that would be repaid by the TIF. And then the balance at the end of the contract, funded by GO bonds, also to be repaid by TIF. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend consideration of passage and approval of the contract for the CBD resurfacing with 10 Point Construction Company at their bid price of $1,794,719.95.
Sure it's 95?
Well, I'm sure it's 95.
So this doesn't include the parking lot?
This does not include the parking lot at this time.
So the parking lot, if added on later, is gonna cost how much more versus doing it all together at one time, or how does that all work?
If you so desire to add on the parking lot, it would be added, it could be added to this project by change order. And then done with this project, by the same contractors in the same timeframes.
When will that estimate be coming to us?
The next item on the agenda is an engineering services proposal
I saw
to
that.
work on that estimate and get it in. I think they had offered 6 weeks or so to get that in.
So do we wait and prove this 6 weeks from now, or do we wait and do it now, or? we-
We only have 30 days to approve the bid, correct?
We have a little longer than that,
Oh.
but
Well, do you get a deal if we bundle it together like we do everything else?
That's what I'm at.
That's where me and Tom are at, like we,
no, there,
Is this a whole separate deal that they're gonna do, and then there's another fee and engineering fee? I mean, I see the $2,200 in the next deal,
yes.
but does this mean they come back and do it, or are they doing it all at once, or how does it work?
The contractor?
Yes.
No, it would, if you approve it, it would go in to this contract by change order. So it would be done all, under a single contract.
Okay.
And when do we find out what the extra would cost?
Well,
for that
that's-
parking lot?
That's, we're anticipating about maybe up to 6 weeks to get that. Mhm.
Any other questions?
I would assume it's just based on square footage. Resurfacing, isn't it just kind of based on square footage of?
Resurfacing is based on tonnage, and patching is based on square yards, yes.
You can share here. So there's a $2 million difference. What's that gonna do to our GO payments?
It won't be on, it's not being paid through our debt service levy. It'll be paid through on our urban renewal
A TIF.
dollars,
Oh, all
so
right.
it'll be paid through
Okay,
TIF.
all right.
All right, will there be a motion? Let's look for a motion to approve the 2024 project to 10 Point Construction Company at their bid price of $1,794,719.95.
So moved.
Jason and Tom seconded. And roll call vote, please.
Atherton,
Yes.
Bordenaro,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And Randy, let's go on to the next one, which is of course related to it, the CBD street resurfacing 2024 consulting services agreement amendment.
Yes, this is proposed with McClure Engineering to evaluate the Great Western parking lot for costs for inclusion into the CBD street resurfacing contract. Of course, that parking lot is bounded by 4th Street, 5th Street, Carroll Street, and Adams Street. That's what would be analyzed and brought back to you with a cost estimate for inclusion or not within this contract. The fees for the service, $2,200, and that brings the total McClure Engineering fees for this project to $262,200. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend considering passing the resolution approving the amendment with McClure at their lump sum fee of $2,200.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Shrek?
Yes.
Bordenero?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Motion carried.
You got that? Yeah.
Those two.
All right, next resolution is the Shive Hattery Incorporated Amendment to Agreement, Contract Administration Services Renovations at Merchants Park Project, and Chad?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this would be the final step in our agreements for all the renovations at Merchants Park. This would include the construction administration or contract administration. That would include the site visits, review of project submittals, shop drawings, review of contractors' pay, applications and change order requests, provide contract modifications for any RFI, ASIs, PRs, and change orders, and then a laundry list of, project closeouts, substantial completion dates, post-construction review, summary items, and then attend a 11-month post-construction walkthrough at Merchants Park. Total amount for this contract amendment is $37,500. Last meeting, I put in front of you guys a budget of estimated costs, including FF&E, engineering, contingency fee, things like that. Originally, it was $120,000. This would bring the overall contract for total engineering down to $116,400, just due to changing some of the site visit schedules. So if there's any questions, staff would recommend approving the amendment to agreement with Shive Hattery.
So moved, we're moving in the right direction.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Jason and Tom, second. Roll call, please.
Bauer?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Shrek?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Bordenero?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Very good. The next one we're going to is the Downtown Facade Grant Program. And Aaron.
Yes, Council, in front of you, you've got we've got three different things. We have the facade demonstration grant packet that explains the demonstration grant, which we've been targeting Brown's Shoe Fit with that, and we've been talking to Brown's about that project. We also have, the facade improvement grant project is the same project, it's just different dollar amounts as we recall discussing. We want to put that application process starting in July so that we can start reviewing those and start getting that process moving forward with the facade improvement grants. And then, of course, the final part of this is the resolution authorizing the advancement of costs. As you all recall, we use local option sales tax dollars to front these grant applications. We will then turn around and use urban renewal dollars to reinvest back into the city for that initial debt that we created from the local option sales tax.
Do we get to, like, when they all come in, do we, as a council, get to select who gets them and who doesn't, or who does that fall upon?
In the packet, it has three people reviewing the packets to start, and that would be myself, Kimberly, and then we need to appoint somebody that does not live in the downtown or have a business in the downtown urban renewal area, and then that could review the packets, and then we would bring them to the council for approval after that.
So before we approve any of this, are we gonna look at the, what's the words I'm looking for? What can be done down there? The constraints, what's the word I'm looking for?
Saying like a downtown design guide?
Yeah.
That's what we approved. We approved the downtown design guide from IEDA, which gives some constraints and ideas of what they should be doing. But then they should give us a design as to what they're planning on doing to their building, and that's part of the application process.
So I'm looking at this ineligible cost, and one of them is backlit plastic signage or security systems, but, so if Blix doesn't, if they apply for it, they can't fix their sign?
Well, they could fix a sign, it just,
Ineligible?
not necessarily a backlit sign, I guess, would be the way that's written.
So let's say they get one of these facade grants and it comes in 40,000 instead of the 50. They want to do something with a sign. Can they add the sign to get it to the 50, or does it have to go reapply for the, you know what I mean? Does that make sense to you?
I would say they have to put that all together in the first application.
Okay, so they can't put the signage
Yeah,
in
we
the
can't.
50 and everything?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
didn't
mean,
know.
we have to
if-
have an application to approve to start, so the 47,000, which means we'd be matching, I don't remember the math, but it'd be half of $47,000 is what we would.
I got you. I just want to make sure that they didn't have to then in turn go to a signage one, so that they could.
Correct, yeah,
could already- okay.
I would want that all in one
Okay.
package, so we don't have to go back and forth on those.
So everything that's recommended in here is what we're the same code. We won't run into that somebody wants something like the vertical signs that stick out so far that
We-
they wanna approve, but it's not allowed in ours, cause
We
have pretty
haven't
strict-
changed the city ordinance for the signage. We can certainly do that and look at that, but we haven't done it as of right now.
Is that the cart in front of the horse, or am I missing something?
I think that we offer this, that we'll pay for half of it, before you put it, or,
Don't the three people have to agree on it too?
Well, you mean the committee would agree on the applications and stuff, yes,
I'm thinking if they all
You
are
have to
like
agree
that,
that
how
it
you
fits
do
code.
it.
right, we have to look at that.
That's what they want blade signage.
I don't know if
These
that's
are
approved.
these are
Is that
examples of
approved?
what you want, correct?
Is blade signage approved in our city code?
I'd have to read the code to see what it is, but, there's some pretty good restraints to the sign code.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we need to make sure that if we're sending out a grant for blade signage, that it's within our code that we can do blade signage. So that's about, valid
Yeah,
point. Like,
it's-
that's what, and then we're trying to get to blade signage, right? That's what we're,
I think that's what they'd recommend.
That was the
And we can
recommendation?
certainly,
Okay.
changing the ordinance for blade signage isn't the hardest thing in the world, it's just, we have to get that done.
okay.
You mean we already know we have to do that? Or if it
If
turns-
council wants that, and this is kind of how, we wrote this demonstration grant just like Knoxville does, and they do accept
Okay.
blade signage, and that's a recommendation from IEDA. We just haven't changed that code. If council's okay with that, we could do that.
We would have to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Assume we have to do that before we grant money to put in signage.
To give out the money, yes, we would have
Yeah,
to
we'd have
change
to
that
change
first.
that
Yes.
order to, okay.
Yep.
And that is the goal from everything that I took from the meeting.
I
correct?
think so,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So you guys are looking crazy here for a minute.
No, I
Pretty
agree with
sure,
you. Yeah.
okay.
No, that is something that they were recommending strongly.
And that's what we've decided we're gonna go with, correct? Is all,
Council has not said no to me at that point yet, so yes,
On
on the blade
the
side.
blade signage.
so as we're on it, I guess now would speak your piece if you have a problem with blade signage before we approve this, correct?
Anybody have any? Okay, but clarify again, we do need to change
Correct.
our ordinance.
Yes.
It's already not in there.
Yes.
So, and we have time to do that before.
Oh, we have
this,
plenty
so-
of time.
Good, okay. All right, I'll look for a motion there are three motions here, I believe. First would be to approve the Carroll Downtown Facade Demonstration Grant Guidelines and Application Form.
So moved.
Jason
Second.
and Kyle. Seconded. Roll call, please.
Dirks.
Yes.
Bordenaro.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, we need a motion then to approve the Carroll Downtown, 2024 Carroll Downtown Facade Improvement Grant Guidelines and Application Form.
So moved.
Jason and JJ seconded. Roll call, please.
Seaman.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Bordenaro.
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We need a motion to approve the resolution authorizing advancement of costs for an urban renewal project and certification of expenses incurred by the city for payment under Iowa Code Section 403.19.
So moved.
Second.
Jason and Kyle seconded. And roll call vote, please.
Bauer.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Bordenaro.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you very much. All right, and our next resolution is on the revised city manager employment contract. Let me get my page here first. A lot of pages to scroll through on that last one. No, thank you. Okay, on May 28th, I had a performance evaluation as mayor of the city manager, Aaron Koiker, and that's when that was completed. In the time of the review, I found that Mr. Koiker received an excellent performance evaluation. On the same date, I met with him also to negotiate a revised employment contract, and attached is that revised employment contract, which was agreed to by the parties. So we do have a copy of that here, and we need to have some discussion on this. If there's any discussion that anyone wants, but the contract has been in front of us and we've all had time to review it. Is there any discussion at this time or any questions? Seeing none, I'm going to look for a approval of the resolution approving a revised employment contract for the city manager position with Aaron Koiker as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Kyle motion and Carolyn seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Bordenaro.
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, and one last one we have here, and that's the fiscal year 2024-25 salary resolution. And Aaron, you'd like to present that?
Yep, council, as you can see, before you, we have the resolution to start salaries for July 1 of 2024 for all full-time employees. Full-time positions, the numbers were derived from union contract, police, and public works that are required to be provided as of July 1, 2024. Negotiated public works contract was at 4%, and the police contract was 5%. Following past practice, most of the non-represented full-time positions were adjusted by the same percentage increase as the full-time public unions positions. Police command staff were adjusted to maintain a separation, which means the command staff was above 4%, under 5%, I believe was the normal percentage. We also looked at the finance and city clerk and adjusted her wage, feeling that she needed an adjustment also to above and beyond the 4%. I would have council consider and approve the resolution setting top of pay or ranges of pay for city employees beginning July 1, 2024.
I'm trying to request more time. I just got aware of this classification and compensation study that I haven't been able to review at all as far as on the request. I didn't know that this thing actually existed until today. And so I haven't really gotten to review it based off this study that we paid to get done. And so I'm asking if we just kick it down just literally to the next one, just because I haven't been.
If we we introduce this, we can table it, is what he's
Table
asking. I think you're asking to table.
Yeah, just to
the
table it. I don't think it's gonna change my mind. I just wanna make sure that I have the time to be able to look at this and, you know what I mean?
Right.
Is that okay?
Does anyone have any problem with that? Yeah. Do you have any problem with it?
No, it just needs to be, we need to pass something by July 1 of
Okay, so we have another.
this year. Yep.
Understood. And what are the ramifications if we do not?
No.
We're playing under the old contract, that is that
Contracts are required, well, Dave, I'd have to,
You know?
I'm not sure.
Not sure either. Yeah,
Well, we'll check into that too before the next meeting.
yeah.
so.
I would think you want to approve it before the next fiscal year,
Right,
before July 1, yes.
okay.
And I apologize, guys. I didn't know about this until today, so obviously I'm in my
No, it doesn't-
6
we
months
got
of this, so I
another
didn't know
meeting,
that this stuff was.
I'm not sure if we do need, Dave, do I need a motion to table it or just, or not?
Yeah, why don't you?
We will need a motion then to table the salary resolution at this time until our next meeting. And Tom, you want to second that then?
Second.
Okay, Tom and JJ seconded. And roll call vote, please.
Dirks.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Bordenero.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, very good, thank you. And now we'll move to reports. We have a report on the MW Capital Group 2 LLC Fairview Village Apartments. And Aaron.
I am looking for my packet for that. Hang on. Well, I'll go off of memory for it.
You need that one.
On page 90.
For the Capital Group LLC, the city was asked to write a letter of support for workforce housing tax credits program. The request from the city was to implement a 10-year tax abatement at 100% for the tax abatement. This is on the increased value of the property. The value that's currently being paid in taxes would continue to be paid taxes, but it would be an increase on the increase. It would be an abatement on the increased taxable value. So I would request consideration and approval of a letter of support for a workforce housing tax credit program application for MW Capital Group 2 LLC.
Aaron, a couple of things on this. I went up there today. Actually, Tom and I both went up there, and we walked through every building. They definitely have a large task in front of them. When we originally talked about this, they talked about not doing Section 8 housing. And they have a sign on the door letting all tenants know that are applying for a Section 8 housing that there's assistance for them.
Probably for the application process, I don't know.
So
Yeah.
I think it's good to have something like that across the board in the city to help increase values. But I think there has to be something tied to it. Brad can't have his officers going up there like how it was when Brad Carlson owned it. My feeling on that is if it's a year-to-year thing, something along those lines.
I don't know if that's possible. I think once you put it in place for a specific project, it's there for that project.
So could we approve it every year?
No, once you put the ordinance in for a project, it has to be for that project. It has to stay in place.
Yeah, I don't like, the time of 10 years is.
It's 10 years.
It's
10 years.
That's 10 years. I look at my youngest son will be probably buying a home in 10 years, and he's pretty young right now. And so that's a long time. I just didn't know if there was a way that we could do it like kind of like you said, Kyle, at a year to year, every year they come in, they kind of apply for a tax abatement on the increased value of what they have done. That also pushes them to move quicker. If the abatement period is a less amount of time. And I had a TIF at one point on the villa, and it encouraged me to move quicker to get it done in that period of time than the 10 years.
Well, when they're doing their improvements, the assessed value changes. So the faster they get improvements done, the more abated taxes they would have. So we're not on the hook for anything. It's almost 100, it is 100% based on them improving the buildings to increase the taxable value to get an abatement.
Kyle, when you went up there today, had you seen any improvement whatsoever?
Yeah, there's, actually I met 3 of the construction workers up there and walked through 2 of the apartment buildings, or 2 of the apartments that they've redone. And they are nice, they're gonna be nice, but some of them that walked through, one of the building was locked. The other had some really bad smell and stench to it. Looked in the windows of a couple. I mean, they've got a lot of work to do.
A lot.
I would probably feel different on this if, since ownership, they would have taken more of initiative, such as mowing the grass. I mean, I think curb appeal, especially to the public, that is huge, and especially on a problem property such as that. If this was, I'm gonna pick on Fairview Apartments, but I mean, the community is ready for change. And I had a conversation with the guy. I'm like, and he agreed. As he went on the public, he's gotten an earful of how people feel. So I think we have to, I think a year-to-year thing, if it's possible, it creates a little incentive for them.
Well, we have to put I should say we don't have to. If we're going to give them the abatement, we have to give them the abatement, but then we have to change the urban revitalization plan to do that. Now, if we don't like that program, for example, if they don't follow through and we don't like that, then we could go back and change the revitalization plan, and we don't do that again. But when you approve a revitalization, or when you approve a project, you're stuck with that project.
We changed that revitalization, like, does that open the whole city up to it?
Yes.
So the entire city, anybody could come in that's got multi-housing?
If they're going to build something or remodel something, of course, again, for an abatement, you have to improve the value of the property by more than 10% to get the abatement.
So he's got a long ways to go just to get to that point first.
Correct.
That could take years to get to the point where he's not gonna get any money until he gets over that.
Well, he doesn't get any money on an abatement. He just gets a
less
reduction in
in
his
taxes.
property taxes.
But he's got a long ways to go to even
Correct.
get to that point.
Correct.
So a year-by-year thing doesn't make any difference until he gets to that point, and then we've achieved what we wanted then.
Correct.
See what I'm saying? You can do a year-by-year, but still until he gets to that point where they're valued at now, he doesn't get any finance.
Right.
Or above what they're valued at now,
Right.
yes.
I think I went back on the assessor website, and this property was valued about 100,000 more 10 years ago than what it is today. So, I mean, I don't know how much further it can go down, but
Well, is that because it was condemned, or isn't one of those buildings condemned?
I don't know, that one was,
I don't think it was ever
Negative of doing
condemned.
only 5 years instead of 10 years. I guess, what would be the negative of doing 5
Well,
years and 10 years?
In order to try and get to a level that we needed to get for the tax credits, we needed to do the 10-year to get there. Because otherwise, he's never gonna get the value for the units.
Oh, he's gotta move a little
Increased.
quicker.
Well, I don't know if he can increase the value enough to get to qualified for the tax credits unless he has a 10-year.
And Brad, how many calls have you received out there since the ownership has changed? I believe there was an attempted murder there.
That was actually Brad Carlson's building.
That's a different.
Okay, that's
confusing, but that's a different.
Okay, no, the public kind of pieces them all together up there.
I was a little
agree,
confused
Jason.
because one end was nicer
Yes.
on the outside facades, and the other end was obviously not so nice. But
So I guess since ownership, have you seen a substantial decrease in?
Yes. huge.
But how
There
many
has
tenants
been.
are there?
There aren't
How
that
many
many.
I
tenants
don't think
are
that you can
left?
even compare
Yes.
that because we don't have tenants up there.
Two
I know
people
one
left.
building, the A building only has one apartment occupied,
I'm assuming that's the one towards Grand
closest to 18th on the south side.
B
is
was
A.
locked.
B is
We couldn't
locked
get in
because
that
it's
one.
uninhabitable.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one that doesn't have sewer right now, right?
Sewer, water, many problems.
Something like that.
So I had-
Somebody.
Yeah, Laverne might have the numbers.
Yeah, I
I
have
have,
the
I only
numbers.
have the one
I
that I
got 'em
sent
right
to you,
here.
Laverne, but
The month of, what was his first month he took ownership? May? March.
yeah, April might have been the first full month.
Yeah, April was, yeah, that's right. April was the first full month, and the calls there were 50% less. Now, I just got May, and there's two? Fireworks, I don't know what that is.
The fireworks complaint that someone made from up there.
Somebody complained about it. A burglar? What's a 911? Oh, that's a hang-up?
Yep.
So nothing.
Correct.
Abandoned? What's abandoned mean?
Vehicles.
vehicle.
And so I would say that's a call for service.
And
It's
then,
abandoned
and then the
vehicles.
stabbing, which wasn't that part, and that's it.
I-
So you got two?
The other thing is, I think we can work with the nuisance side of it and just be a little stricter with them and just stay on them harder.
They're still saying that they don't have a contract for anybody to do the yard this year so far.
We'll do it then.
So if there's, yeah, but then when we get to the time point with the new restraints, that like a day later, they're in there mowing.
Yeah, we've,
So
so
they're-
far we've made 2 notifications to them, and both times they've done it before the time has been up to take over by the city.
Yeah.
So
Fairly.
the calls there have drastically reduced.
They have.
But are we taking into consideration, we've also drastically lost tenants up there?
I think you should take that into consideration.
I mean, if they don't have any tenants, we can't have any calls for service.
You're right.
I think that 10 years, we're just
I think
carrying
Margaret
along
has a
a
question.
baby for 10 years that just,
But here's the
it's an ugly baby, but like,
But if he's not fixing it up
any
and getting the improvements, he's not getting any abatement.
You're not gonna get So
So
any
this really is a
He's gotta
moot
get over
point,
the assessment. Do you know
moot
what the
point
assessed
to
value
do
was?
10 years.
Every building is different.
Come on up.
Come on up.
About $750,000, rough guess, each building.
Total, each building?
Each building.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess I'm Margaret Sidoris, and I own Camden Apartments, Kitty Corner. The main reason I got my security cameras is because of Fairview, because of all the issues I had because of them. So no one's happier to see a change in ownership than I am. However, I do have some questions, because I am frustrated with the tax credit program, I'll be quite honest. What is their potential tax credit amount? Do you even know, Aaron?
I don't know what they're applying for, no, I do
Okay.
not. I know we had a $1,000 per unit requirement to match.
Okay. And I do feel that 10 years is too long. I mean, based on how long it takes them to mow, I think that's a good impression of how long it will take them to get things done. I mean, it's, to me, that's a
Margaret, I
basic.
went to a deal the city of Coon Rapids put on, and it talked about tax credit housing. Obviously, everybody's short of housing, and Katie Mason put it on down there. And it goes off a population of what you can earn per unit, and then there's a maximum amount awarded. And I believe the maximum amount awarded on the projects is $1 million, but the population plays a factor into that too, what it is per unit.
Because I just have several questions. I mean, I know, Aaron, you had in your letter that you expect that 50 units per year. I really question that. We haven't seen the jobs increase. We've lost more jobs overall, it seems like to me, because when American Home Shield during the pandemic went to, you can work anywhere, I instantly lost 2 people because they went out of county. So I don't see that. If anything, we need single-family homes for elderly so that you can open up their homes. And I'm saying that not only for Carroll, but I see it in Jefferson. And we own properties in Carroll, Jefferson, and Ogden. Across the board, that's what everybody needs. But when we took over in 2010, we had 25 of our 60 open. Did not ask the city, state, or federal for any money. We did it on our own, don't want any funds from them. And that's what I think everybody wants, a handout. and I'm frustrated, and I know I'm not the only one who is frustrated with those types of programs. So when you want to dish out money to somebody, not only with our federal funds, but our city funds, it gets a little bit, let's just say, frustrating, and to the point where we need to have the funds come in. I don't know what their property tax abatement is worth, but I think people really need to know what the dollar amount is.
Well, just to be clear there, the current property taxes that they're paying, they will continue to pay.
Okay?
So we won't lose
Any potential taxes.
anything right now.
Yes.
What they would gain by the increased value of the property would be the difference from what they're paying now to what the assessed value says they should pay. So they would be getting on the increased taxes or increased assessed value. So we wouldn't lose the loaf of bread that we have now. We'd just be putting off the bigger loaf of bread for 10 years.
What value are they paying now?
One building,
I think every building.
I think they're a little bit different, but around 750,000 a building.
700, okay. So, yeah, I don't know what each building would be as far as actual, but I just say, before you pass something, look at the current people that have done it the way that I think, the hard-earned way, and maybe ask them. I know I just spent 18 grand just in taking my ash trees down. There's lots of things that we do all the time and get no credit for.
Sure.
So, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron, originally, they had submitted a letter that they were gonna put in, how much was, what was it, 600 on the
I
inside?
thought it was $800,000 investment into the.
Total. That was
That might be.
$200,000 outside and 600 inside, right? We have 72.
What do you want, some math?
Percent 50.
800,000.
In 5 years, we're gonna have 10 units.
$12,000 a unit, inside and out considering.
$12,000 a unit inside and out is where they're at.
If you're considering both of them,
And that's on 72? 72 units.
72. I don't know, that's a lot. I don't know, I don't think it really matters whether it's 0 years or 10 years. If they don't make the improvements, they're not getting any abatement. Am I missing
Right.
something, or are we just
No, you're right,
throwing
Tom.
apples at a wall?
No,
I mean, they either do
it's
it or they
all on
don't.
them. It's
Right.
all on them.
100% on
If
them?
they do nothing, they don't increase the value. Yeah,
But that's the problem. If they do nothing, then we're just left with an ugly baby. Where if we
Well, we are-
shorten
we
it, hold
are
on, let me
anyway.
finish. If we shorten this time and incentivize them to get in there and finish it, that's what we should do instead of just sitting on an ugly baby for 10 years.
Well,
That's why I
they-
want to cut the time down so it incentivizes them. There's an incentive on both sides here. Any deal you go into, it benefits them, it benefits me. You meet in the middle, kind of, and that's where they're at 10 years. I don't want to sit on an ugly baby for 10 years. I'll sit on it for 5 years, and hopefully they want money. They got to get their money in there and get this thing done at a reasonable time. Where if you have 10 years and it's like, well, if they don't, does anyone want Fairview to maintain the way that it is?
No, not at all.
No, nobody wants Fairview to maintain the way that it is. So we're setting ourselves up with a 10-year and everyone's like, well, if he doesn't do anything, he's not going to make any money. Are we going to sit here for 10 years with Fairview at the same way and be like, well, at least he's not getting any money? Or are we going to put something in place to incentivize him to get this thing going and to make money?
But at the current level, since he's no longer on the USDA program, he's not making money unless he has people in there. So he's already incentivized to have people in the buildings until he gets them remodeled and habitable.
That's on the owner. Then when
Correct.
it comes to
So-
when it comes to our money, when it comes to the city council money, there should be. I got an incentive to get this money too. It should be. It's a double pronged thing that like both ways. Like here's the city's going to give me a kickback on this, but my incentive is to get this done in a very fast and reasonable time to get that money. Not I'm going to sit on this in 10 years and hope at the end of it, this thing ends up. I end up either getting it or not.
Aaron, why aren't they here tonight to try and like answer any of these questions that we have as far as like timelines and how quick this is gonna get moving? And why are we sitting there watching the grass get 2 feet tall before it's taken care of?
I apologize, I didn't ask him to come.
I think the other thing that frustrates me with this whole thing is their business plan was, I think I had told you early on, less than impressive. It doesn't really lay out anything specific of what they're planning on doing up there. And then they come to us and ask for 10 years of a tax.
Well, talking with the contractor guy that was up there, he was waiting on a lot of parts coming. Is that what you understood too?
Yep.
And they were doing everything they could to, you know, not all the places are empty. They have tenants. They'd love to do it all in one shot and lock the whole building down and just do them all at once, but there's tenants remaining in A, and I think C, that they're waiting to get out of there, but I don't know.
I just at this point, I have more questions than answers.
Well, just to clarify one thing, changing this from 5 years to 10 years doesn't change their incentive. The quicker they get this done,
Yeah,
whether
they,
it be 5 or 10, there's still the same incentive to get it finished for them. This is just,
Well,
we're just saying.
actually, the quicker they get it done, the more incentive there is for them.
to get them
Correct.
rented.
That's why,
If they get done in
Longer
1
term.
year, they now have 9 years of abatement on the increased value. If they
Right.
get done in year 9, they only get 1 year of abatement.
Correct.
But
on
then they're
increased
getting,
value.
then they're obviously getting more money. So like,
Oh.
we're paying out more money, so why
I'm
wouldn't
not
we
paying
just go?
anything.
Well, you're not getting that, I mean, the taxpayers aren't getting that money. We can play this game, but if they're not getting that money, it's still their money.
But that
It's-
wasn't the point of getting Fairview out of the state that it was in. The point was to make it more like nicer to look at. So we have actual residents that want to inhabit the place up there. Like, it's not about the tax credit.
Yep.
It's let's get the job done so we can rent those units out to people who want to live there and be productive in our city and
And
not
get it
look
done as
at
fast as
an
possible.
ugly baby, as you
Yep.
keep referring to it, for the next 9 years. So I guess my point would be, like, I have questions. I want them to come and tell me how are they gonna change it and what is their timeline? We require that of, what was the place on 7th Street? The Nealon property, we had to have a timeline for them. I mean, I think with the one on Main Street, we have a timeline on that one. What's the timeline? Like, give us some idea before I'm gonna commit to a 10-year tax credit.
So make a motion to table it and
I make a
Bring 'em
motion
in
to
here.
table it.
So moved.
have them come, invite them in,
Second.
Okay.
so.
Well, there's a motion on the table to table this. Roll call vote, please.
Bauer,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Gordon Merrill.
Yes,
Shrek.
Yes.
Motion carried. To table.
there you go, that was easy.
Now, you'll need a little bit of instruction on how long we're tabling this for, so.
I think we can bring it.
Basically, just explain
By,
this to
by,
you.
by rules,
Till
we
the-
have to take it to the next council meeting.
Correct, okay, but your direction is to get them here.
Correct.
To get them here at the next meeting, that's not part of the motion, but that's part of
And,
our desire.
and not only to answer questions, but I had the same concern as JJ, and I told Aaron this, that was not a business plan. What's their rent gonna be? What's, what about their financing? I even asked, what are they putting on their application for the state? What kind of information are they giving them, but they couldn't give us? And so, yeah, I think they do owe it to us to show up.
I
And-
100%
and I
agree with you,
also-
Carolyn.
pardon
I'm getting
me.
soft. I 100% agree with you. I do.
Thank you,
It
Jason.
doesn't happen often, but I do.
You're-
I want everyone to know
Okay,
that.
well,
The record
but-
show,
Record show.
Thank
he's
you.
getting soft.
Okay, yeah, no. Anyway, I would like them not only to show up and have answers, but because people can wing it. I want them to show up with something in black and white. What is your business plan? How are you going to make money? What are your rents going to be, et cetera, et cetera? And they should give us a timeline for getting these things done. And I think they need to hear about the grass. That's so simple.
Pass an ordinance with grass?
We have made notification,
I
but
mean,
they
They've got it
complete the project problem before the timeline expires, which is only 3 days, but they're,
I mean,
once we
how are-
notify, they get it done.
Yeah, how are they going to cash flow it?
I don't twice a
This
year.
is one of the concerns I had about the Section 8, and I think there's a place for Section 8, but when I see that on the door, Margaret, I don't know what your rents are, but I almost guarantee that Section 8 is gonna pay them more than what Margaret would get for market-based rent.
My rents are anywhere from $6.25 to $6.75 for a two-bedroom. Their two bedrooms are almost what?
I wanna say around $900 is what Section 8 is.
Yeah,
So
it's over almost $200.
you do that on pro forma on 70 units at $200, that adds up fast. So that's,
That was gonna be my question. Who are they looking to rent to? Is it local people that need, that
that's
need an
what-
apartment because they have a job here? Or is it anybody that they market to through the federal program?
Well, the USDA program is that big federal program, but the
Any of it,
section,
Section 8 HUD,
yeah.
it's all the same. Those people get on there, they know exactly where the free housing is.
Dave, do you know anything about it? Years ago, and Margaret, you were involved in the discussion a long time ago when they were gonna build the building south of Woodland, remember that? We got into a discussion on Section 8, and that has to do with the Federal Fair Housing Act. Dave, do you know anything about it? I remember someone telling it, maybe the legislation has changed, but no one can turn away a Section 8 voucher.
that's correct.
Is that correct?
Carolyn,
Or
I do
don't know.
remember that, and I
know.
think you're right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to.
And maybe, and that, I'm sorry.
Ms. Sidoris just said that you can't discriminate. You're not
Right,
supposed to,
right.
excuse me.
Yeah.
And so I think with Section 8, we just gotta ensure that part of Section 8 where it fails is that you promote all Section 8 people, like individuals that apply for Section 8, and you end up with a building with 50 units on Section 8. Section 8 works when you integrate them into the normal, into the, not I don't want to say normal, just into society, so that you have different people of different economic backgrounds living in one area, you know what I mean?
For Section 8 all over town.
In section, all over town, and we help to integrate them into the community as much as they can, so that they have the same opportunity as somebody that's making $100,000 or somebody that's on Section 8. And so I think that we need to make sure that they're doing a job of making sure that they're integrating these buildings to be all inclusive for everybody on whatever economic background they kind of are. As I have an apartment building with different economic people in them, and so.
All right, good discussion.
Mayor?
Yes.
One comment.
Sure.
Yeah, I like how it turned out.
Gotta say your name.
Mark Beardmore, 2625 Fourth Street. Thank you, Jason, for giving me a call. He knew that I had more than just a casual interest in this topic. I liked everything. You guys brought up a lot of things that I was going to bring up anyway, so thank you for your due diligence. The one thing that I would encourage each and every one of you to do is spend some time, like I did today, on the State of Iowa IEDA tax credit program. I spent 40 minutes roughly in between a couple other things. I was multitasking. If I was still on the payroll, I'd have spent a lot more time on it. I found nowhere where the city is required to do any kind of match whatsoever. Maybe it's in there. So to your point, they require certain percent. I don't know who told you that. It's
It was
not on their
off of the
website.
presentation. I took it off the presentation that, from Coon Rapids.
Katie Mason.
Katie Mason presented to,
So hearsay.
well.
There was a representative from IADA there. I know his name is on the presentation. The presentation lasts about 45 minutes, but I mean, yeah, there's huge money out there.
Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, I wouldn't fault somebody for going after it if you don't go after somebody else is going to.
I agree.
mean,
I agree. And I understood it, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but please spend some time with this, as I did, maybe even more. Their program only lasts for 3 years. Why would the cities be 10 or even 5? But I mean, I would easily support 5 more so than I would 10. But their programs, it runs 3 years or until it runs out, whichever occurs first. Now, maybe they'll backfill it. Pardon? The funding, yeah. And of course, that's a annual thing, but again, politically charged. But anyways, that's what their website says. So I really encourage you to all investigate that on your own, do your own due diligence, understand it well before you get in bed with a great unknown.
I sometimes wonder why he's even applying for this until he gets to the point where they're assessed so he can have more money.
Right, 'cause they don't
And then-
assess every
And
year.
then start the application, because time's ticking away on him when he doesn't.
Last
have it.
time I looked it up, I think you guys, somebody up here said like 750. It's 500 per building. The last I looked it up at about the time of sale. And so that's about $2 million all sold. He sold it for 3. So, and that's gonna impact it too. Again, we found this all out because their original ask was for the deep dive, and we knew that we couldn't attach debt to it and so on and so forth, so it's only on the lift. But I won't spend a whole lot of your time. I know you want to adjourn, but I really encourage you guys to understand this program, as well or better than the applicant does.
Yeah, the caveat on Mark, I don't know if when we table, if we can find out how often these grants are, or these abatements are 10 years, and then how we kind of came up with the 10-year number.
I think the state asked for it.
Well, I think the 10-year was the match, the urban revitalization thing, which, when you did Adams, last year, I remember the discussion that was one of our options, was to make it citywide, and this council chose not to do that. So I don't know why we would go changing it now to accommodate Fairview.
Yeah, so their ask was 10 years, and we just said, sure.
That's what we
what the
discussed,
ask
in
is.
order to get to the number that they need. That's essentially what we have to do.
I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to at least present it. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm MW Capital and I present it to the city, I want us 6 to decide on it and not somebody just shooting me down. I think that makes the most sense. But
Right.
I think there just has to be a little more ties there for them. Definitely want that place to look better, but I mean, driving by the grass, I mean, there's just a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, they've done some good progress, but there's a lot.
Well, I remember when we were doing Adams too, the 10-year was debatable. And I think it was the previous city manager wrote in his memo that we have options. And we could also do, I brought this up to Aaron, but I guess I thought, well, if this helps them get their tax credits at the state level, then, there wasn't exactly a big line of people signing up to refurbish these apartments. So if we can help them and get something started, then we'll end up with something good. But I remember Mike's memo, you could also do not only, 3 years or whatever, but we could also do a hybrid, a sliding scale, and change the percent abated over the course of the years. Now, I haven't thought this through. It just came back to me as we were talking about this. But, I mean, we do have some options, but we need to hear from them. We really do.
Didn't that have to concern if it was blighted or not?
Pardon me?
The sliding scale part of it, didn't it have to be a blighted area?
Brownfield or
Just
Greenfield.
to do an abatement like this, it's gotta be blighted.
Right, so.
Yeah.
For
That's
this,
on their
But I do
website.
remember there's stuff out there.
for
like
this,
that.
I don't think you have a problem with the
Yeah.
blight definition.
But again, one more thing is about the accountability thing. You're definitely on the right track. Again, I would certainly suggest and hope for and urge you that you tie some type of metric system to it. And I didn't see anything, Aaron, on their website says you can't do that. It's your program. I don't know why you couldn't do that. And Brad and I have, if you don't mind me saying so, we've talked about it a couple of times. He thinks it'd be really easy to set up, but what we don't want to be is out of the frying pan, into the fire, and now we're in bed with them. Because we have no idea, what kind of track record they're going to run on. We already know they don't know how to mow. So I just thoroughly encourage you to make sure that if there's any type of city assistance whatsoever, that it comes with very tightly and well-defined definition and accountability standards, because we already know of another business development agreement that we visited about last year that we didn't quite have enough definition in, and we found out how that one turned out too. So lessons learned from these types of business development agreements always get better with the next one. Thank you.
One last question. Do they know this was on the agenda today?
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to be clear here a little bit. If we, let's say we went, just hypothetically, we went forward with this, the 10-year starts now? Or do they, and then they don't get any money until they get to that assessed value? And if that happens at year 8, they only have 2 years left?
Yes.
It
That's
would
the way
have-
I would
Why in
understand
the
it.
world
Well,
are they asking for this now?
Well, they have to apply for the abatement, which comes back to us, then goes to the county. And I believe that's how the abatement process works. And so it would probably be not till next tax year until this would kick in.
But if they're nowhere near the assessed value, they're wasting years until they get to that.
But I think, like
But they
what
can't
Mark,
play that game like we do with TIF, with the abatement. They've got to apply for it and get going.
I think like what Mark said, you know, the county assessor's gonna say this property sold for $3 million. That assessed value on the overall thing is gonna go up.
Correct. I think they're gonna come in and reassess real quick, and they don't wanna pay that extra. That's my personal feeling. I mean, we all know if you get the wrong guy coming in assessing your house, you're like,
When I
it's
asked
worth
this-
that much, I'm gonna put it on the market, you
When
know?
I asked the assessor that, I said, you know, that thing's, I mean, I wouldn't give you 2 plug nickels for it. But, and I said, why, you know, how does it, and it's based on, you would understand this, it's based on its rent potential. So you got 72 units,
Income
once they're
approach.
dolled up and nice, that thing's gonna rake in some revenue. And so it's based pretty much on that. So,
But until it's all dolled up and nice.
correct, it's
It's
crickets,
wasting time.
right.
No, I get it.
And that's
Totally
why
get
we're not having problems up there, is because it's crickets. Can't arrest crickets.
I mean, there was no cars, when we went up there was no cars. I think there's one car
it. There's a
in the,
refrigerator.
one car in the area,
Just
that
drive
we
around
parked, and then, yeah, so.
We also have a new news guy here. I agreed with Carroll and Seaman should be on the front page. You wanna sell some newspapers, put that on there.
All right, committee reports, you can review those on their own. I have no comments from the mayor's position. How about any from the city council?
No.
Or from the city manager?
Nope. Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn is heard,
Second?
and second by JJ. Tom and JJ. Roll call vote, please.
Atherton,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Schreck,
Yes.
Bordenero.
Yes.
Motion carried. We are adjourned.